All right, talking the business fans, KC, Dave, talking the business, and we're bringing you part two with the legend, the bronze god himself, Lennox. Man, we had fun the first part, kind of going over your history. Part two, we're taking it home, my friend. You ready?
I'm ready for it.
All right, let's go into the current state of the Indies, because you started back in 1998, 99. It's 2015. So things have changed a lot. You're working 5 different promotions in the area. What do you see as the changes in the independent scene today? Because, I mean, it's kind of changed a lot in the past 15 years.
Well, actually, it seems a lot. It seems like it's a lot harder. Like it seems like it's the best time to be an independent wrestler today.
Okay, why would you say that? I mean,
Well, it just seems like a lot of people been. Well, this has been going on the past decade, though. At least I've had fans and wrestlers tell me alike. And they all watch. What's going on national television, worldwide television, and they've been turned off by it for a long time. So they when someone tells them there's a local show down the road, well, some of those some of those people are turning to that. They're turning to the local shows around the areas across the United States.
and that is a big thing, because there are certain independent promotions that are literally outdrawing the major promotions when they go on the road. And I think that's a lot of it is the amount of talent maybe is bigger than it's been in a long time. I mean, the guys you're working with in the ring, I mean, would you say
So
that
they're being aware. It's more awareness of it now than
Okay.
it used to be, because of what I just mentioned, where people are being they're being suggestive of. I don't like the current product either, is what they would say, and then they like, well, there's a local show down the road, which I pointed a lot of people to my show, and they come and see me wrestle, and I was like, they're pretty good, and they come on back, and they tell their friends, and then some of them come on back.
Well, I feel like there's a big movement. You want to talk about 98, 99. I think there was still a big thing about if you were 6'4", 265, 275, you had a chance to break. And if you were 5'10", 215, you didn't. Now, if you want to talk about the best wrestlers in the world, if you want to talk about a Finn Balor and Adam Cole, they're all in that 5'10", 210 range. The perception of what a professional wrestler is has really changed, hasn't it?
That's another thing too. Where you were right. Actually, as recently as a decade ago,
Okay.
about this time, like my first year here, I was busting my ass in the gym, so I can at least get to what we call TV ready,
Okay.
as far as look. And even though I didn't necessarily have to be 230 pounds or whatever, but at least be look a little bit bigger than what I was. I came in here to live at 185 pounds, and a couple guys even were gonna suggest I take juice up.
Oh, really?
Yes, he was, yeah. Even said it would hook me up, so to speak. And I came to within an eyelash of taking up on that offer. But then when I started lifting weights and learning how to work out,
Gotcha.
some of the small things, some of those nuances about working out and stuff that you use, I was doing that, and I was gaining that and just eating a bunch with some of the bigger guys, trying to keep up with them, like Michaels did with Diesel.
Gotcha.
I gained 20 pounds of muscle in 3 months
Oh, wow.
without roids, naturally.
It can be done.
Yep. And I was already lifting weights most of my life anyway,
Okay.
and only skipped a few years. My first few years in wrestling, I didn't work out. Only until about 2000, 2001, I started back working out. And when I came here, I started really stepping it up because of the advice that I was given on how to work out to make yourself, to make yourself bigger without using any chemicals, which now I'm definitely against because you've seen the death rate of some of the wrestlers, old and young, and when you're dealing with chemicals, if it's something that you can't pronounce, it's not good for you.
No, it's not. And growing up, we've talked ECW in part 1, but the death of Louis Piccoli really affected me because that was the character I connected to. And this Piccoli driver was one of the best finishers that I had ever seen of all time. And I remember when he passed away, that really affected me as a fan. And unfortunately, that's a dark side of the business. Maybe we don't discuss enough today. So it's actually a good thing that 185, that 210 guy can break through now. That maybe wasn't possible a few years ago.
And that was it's actually coming a little bit more full circle than as far as like when the 90s, the last time they had this big to do over steroid use and big muscular guys using it.
Yeah.
And the latest after 2006, my first year here, when they started instituting the wellness policy and they started having a bunch of guys failing.
Yeah.
And I think that's what contributed to turning the corner on that.
And that's a positive thing if you actually love the industry. And I tell people all the time, to be the best heel in the business today is Adam Cole. And Adam Cole is the most arrogant, cocky guy on the camera whatsoever. He's 5'10", 205. And you would never know it the way he enters the ring. But let's be honest, a former ROH heavyweight champion, a former Pro Wrestling Guerrilla heavyweight champion, he's 26 years old at 205. You can do it without doing all the other stuff. You can get yourself over without being 275. And that's kind of to me, that's the difference in the industry today. You couldn't do that 10 years ago. It was impossible.
No, it was it's the same as it was like when it became the same as it was in 1994 when they had the steroid scandals going on, and then Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels started getting
Most
their
definitely.
rise because on the heels of that.
Most definitely. So let's talk about, when we talk about the indie promotions today, and the territories were one thing. Let's talk about promoters today, because boy, you work the indies and promoters today, and I hear stories all the time about the different type of promoters. What is the type of promoter, if you're a guy in the industry and you go, okay, I want to work it, what do you look for in a promoter? Because you hear some guys don't pay the guys, don't look out for the fans. They're looking for a quick buck to put in their pocket. But then you hear about the promoters that are going out of their way to teach the proper etiquette of the industry, to promote the business, and to take care of the fans. You work 5 different promotions. What do you look for from a promoter?
Well, I've the first thing I looked for in a promoter was just respecting me, and respecting not just my ability, but how I interact with in the locker room, my etiquette in the locker room.
Most definitely.
Which a lot of people have put me over on that, and I've been known as a guy that with a lot of class as a result. Even when I was when I was in OVW or anywhere I've been, they noticed that in Japan too. And that's the first thing I notice is that's the first thing I look for. The main thing is respect. I know promoters can be flawed because they're humans. They're humans just like we are. And some of them would purposely want to, short you, or some of them just don't plain have it. But another thing I'll look for when it comes to, business, playing business is usually you would want to have your money budgeted ahead of time specifically for pay for the wrestlers. And that's why it's been better when actual wrestlers are, who have owned promotions. That's why that's where it's been best for, because the ones who just want to promote wrestling and stuff, they don't have that concept in mind. They don't have that in mind.
Well, and I bring this up because of the growth of the industry today, and I brought up this question particularly because I don't think a lot of fans understand that as an indie, wrestler, you might make enough to get gas money. Let's be honest, you're doing it for the love of business. Hopefully you sell a little merch, you get a couple of t-shirt sales, but let's be honest, a lot of times it's just, you're doing it for the love of it. So having those promoters that are looking out for you and setting the cash to the side to take care of those guys that are busting their ass in the ring, it's an important thing. You need to know that. And that actually led me into the next question. You're right. There's so many guys that respect you. You've been around for 15, 16 years now here in the area. What do you feel like your responsibilities are as a vet in that locker room? I mean, how do you handle yourself different today than you would 15 years ago?
Well, that's the easiest question for me to answer because I was always, throughout my life, I've been, I was a quiet dude in high school. I was an introvert, one of the biggest ones in school, and I only came out of my shell in college before I got into wrestling. So that's why, I could be a little bit crazy. It was like that before I got into wrestling.
Okay.
But I wasn't confident that people would take my words and take any stock into my words until literally the last few years.
Wow.
The last 3 or 4 years, I started, I didn't want to give advice because I didn't think people would listen. But the last 3 or 4 years, I started giving advice, being more confident that people would listen to me. I'm thinking, I figured, well, hell, I got all this experience. Hell, you've been to Japan, Lennox, You've been to Canada, you've been there, and you tried out for ECW for God's sake. You've seen WCW guys backstage in the ECW locker room.
Yeah.
And
this kind of blows my mind because everyone I've talked to in the backroom area has so much respect for you. I can't believe that you wouldn't be confident in telling that.
Yeah, only in the past 4 years. And that respect has gone on for a long time, almost ever since the beginning of my career. When I started, people would be like, he's a good kid. He's a good kid. He's a little green, but he can go. To now, he's a vet. He's a good worker. Things of that nature. And he's got a lot of class. And I remember Dave Christ. When I was in Ohio, he would, he put me over in front of the guys in HWA and in Rockstar later on.
Okay.
And told him, listen to this guy, referring to me, pointing to me, saying, listen to this guy. I've watched him put together matches and went off of, put my own matches off of him.
Wow.
So it was coming off of OVW and the year I had there in 2011, 2012. That was the highest compliment. My eyes lit up.
Yeah, and we've had former guests in this show like Shane Andrews, who's spoken nothing but highly of you. Again, we're gonna say it, Chris Silvio, who's spoken nothing but highly of you, and just wow. It's hard to believe that someone that's so respected, but you're so humble. And maybe that's what's made you as successful as you are. But I do want to take the story to another level because you worked at a very interesting time with OVW, and I've heard these crazy stories about Santino Morales and some of the road stories. You talk about 16 years in the business. You've got some road stories. So what are you willing to share with us? Because I've heard some wild things. James Kendrick, if you're watching this show, which I know you are, you put this man in trouble. So let's hear the Santino Morales story, because I've heard strip clubs and falling out. And my God, what in the world is going on now?
Well, before I get into it, one thing about Santino Marella, the only difference between what you see on TV that you've seen on WWE TV since 2007 up until I think the last couple years he's been out, and you know the guy that we've seen in OVW and the guys that they've seen on the road in WWE, the only difference is that fake Italian accent. That's the only difference.
So he's crazy.
Everything that's really him.
Oh wow!
What you see on TV, that is Santino Marella, who we call Boris here in OVW.
Boris, yes.
And my first year, well, it was my first week in Louisville.
Oh wow!
And oh boy, we went to 4th Street Live, and you know we met up with Mickey James. You know she was there, and she had us come up to one of the clubs. I forgot what the name of it was back then, but she was in the VIP section, so we were all by there, kicking it. And towards the end, we go over towards one of the other bars around that area, upstairs, and we're all getting our groove on. And all of a sudden, he decides to do a backflip in the middle of the dance floor, and he does a moonsault. In the
middle of the dance floor.
Yeah, he does. He ends up doing a moonsault because he don't land on his feet. Lands like this, almost on all fours. And if a person was there, they could have broken his fall. But he did a moonsault like someone moved, and he smacked his head on the floor. And that floor was it was freaking concrete. It wasn't concrete. It was it was hard. It was like a hard wooden floor, and it was like, oh boy. So we I drove home, but some of the rest of the guys took him to the hospital, and I just had to check up on him.
Wow, is that the craziest story?
That's the craziest one I was a part of with him.
Oh my!
There was another one that didn't involve him. This was right after WWE left, and we were doing a house show. It was near the Elizabethtown area, and it was Adam Revolver was the driver, and it was Outlaw, my partner, I believe, was with me.
Okay.
And a couple, I think Man Beast was in the car, and I think there was one other dude. It might have been Sylvia. It might have been. I'm not sure. But those cars that some of those wide load.
Yeah.
They'll have the wide load truck.
Yeah.
Well, they had a vehicle that said wide load on it, and they'd have a car that would follow with them.
Yeah.
Closely behind. We tried to get in between them. We were ribbing them. We were trying to get in between.
Oh Lord
as
Jesus.
A rib. And we got close at least twice. We got close. We were gonna try to cut in, and that car was determined. It was like, you ain't getting it. Each time.
Oh my gosh.
We almost got it. We were this close for like 3 times. I think 2 or 3 times.
And I've met Adam Revolver, and I believe this. I'll just leave it at that. Go back to Alabama. Jeez. Oh my gosh. Crazy. But that's the life of a wrestler. You're gonna have some crazy times going back, and there's stories, and that's what makes it fun. I mean, for a mark, which I am, that's what makes it fun. Is you hear those little stories, you're like, really?
And here's a term about Mark. Like there'll be guys that say it in a condescending tone. Some of the wrestlers would, and even some of the fans would do it. And it's like sometimes I would always joke. I would follow it with a little bit of a joke and say, "Well, that's where it starts." And then I'm like, next thing you know, you're in a 16x16 ring, thinking it's heaven. Because that's what it was when I was in Columbus, Ohio. I was in this little junky ass 16 by, I think it was even smaller than that. It was probably a 14 by 14 foot ring.
Okay.
And it was dilapidated. The whole building was they had TV shows. They had
In a
weekly-
14 by 14 ring?
Yeah, they had a TV show that was on cable access, and when people would see it at work, when I work, and then I'd tell them about it, like, yeah, I'm wrestling there. You wrestle in that basement? When actually, they said it looks like a basement. I'm like, well, actually, it's upstairs. It was on West Fifth Avenue in Columbus, and it was actually upstairs.
Wow.
I think there was like a barber shop at the bottom, and it was actually upstairs.
The
But
life
they-
of an independent wrestler. That's
They look
all
like
I
this.
can say. That's all I can say. Well, let's talk about the future, because you're wrestling 5 different promotions. You're obviously highly respected. You've worked all over the world. Where does Lennox Norris go from here? I mean, is there much more to do in the area? I mean, or are we looking at an ROH, maybe a tryout for NXT? Where is the future for Lennox Norris?
Well, considering where I'm at as far as my life, I want to try it one more time. I want to try to get to a higher level one more time as far as when it goes to places like ROH, Ring of Honor. I've tried out one before, and Kevin Kelly liked me. Delirious, they both like my promos,
Okay.
and they like my in-ring work, and they did like OVW. We do what they they nitpick you and they point out some nuances about it that you can work on and fix. And I thought about going, particularly trying out for ROH again.
And that's one of the better companies out there today. I think your style really works well with them.
And nowadays it does.
Yeah, most definitely.
At that time, not so much, but nowadays, past 3 years since that tryout and since the tour of Japan,
Oh yeah.
it's changed my style quite a bit. And I wanna display that next time I'm in front of them. Or next time I go to Japan, I like to go back there, and I like to go
Most
to
definitely.
maybe join Silvio in England next time he goes.
Oh wow, that would be
Maybe
awesome.
we'll have a rematch.
Oh, that would be even better. And speaking of which, as we're recording this, he just got back to Kentucky today. So, Chris, I know you're watching. The man just called you out. We got to get a rematch here soon. So let's. Okay, so I'm a promoter in, God knows, Japan, England, here in the Indiana, Kentucky area. How do I get a hold of Lennox Norris? How do I get you as part of my company and to bring you in to obviously take the gold, because my God, you always take the gold. So
Because I wear gold. That's why.
that's the way it is. When you're the bronze god, you gotta have the gold.
And when
What's
you're the
going on?
melanated miracle, yes you do.
Oh, geez, you have to believe it.
When you're the magnificence of melanin.
Oh, the magnificent. We use big words here on Talking Business. But anyway, go ahead. How do we get a hold of you? How do we get you as part of our company?
What you can do is, you go to my, I have 3 Facebook pages actually.
3?
Yeah.
Oh
2
my
of
God.
which has my government name on there, my birth name, Norris Lane on there.
Okay.
And one page has my Lennox Norris like page. You can go on that
Okay.
and get a hold of me. Also, you can get a hold of me on Twitter, which is at Lennox Norris.
Okay.
And then also, my email address is my first name, Norris@gmail.com.
Okay. Well, if you're a promoter in Tennessee, Indiana, Kentucky, God forbid somewhere else, if you don't have this man as part of your shows, you're really missing out. When I say a legend, I don't mean just a legend in the area. What I mean by a legend is a guy that is highly respected in the back room, highly respected by the fans, and someone that we appreciate for the work that he puts into the ring. So this has been an absolute honor and privilege. Thank you so much for coming here. When we actually started this show, so many of the guys in the back room were like,
you gotta have this guy on. You gotta have this guy on. And I'm glad it finally actually worked out. We got to meet, and we actually met at a UWA show, and we sat back 5-10 minutes, and it just clicked. And man, this has been a blast. So, talking to business fans, thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed the show. As you know, first week of April, we have the podcast coming out. KC and Dave talking the business. We're extremely excited about it. You can follow us on. It has changed just a little bit. KC and Dave, TTB 20161 on Twitter. KC and Dave, TTB on Instagram. The Facebook page will change here soon to KC and Dave. Hopefully by the time this airs, this should come around. So we're excited. We're excited about the future. I gotta ask, when we get to the podcast part, you're gonna be part of the show, right?
I'll be down.
Oh, that's what I
Right.
love to hear. That's what I love to hear. So as the Bronze got himself, Casey can only say, deuces!